to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. Today's conversation is all about branding. I'm sitting down with Kelsey Kurtis, author of The Connection Method. Kelsey has been a professional photographer for over a decade and now specializes in lifestyle branding photography. She is here to share some principles from her book and correct the misconceptions we may have about branding. We also learn what not to post and what words you should not use. In this episode, she gives us some clarity and confidence on what we are doing in our business branding and where we are going in it. I have to say, Kelsey's website represents everything she teaches her clients. I was completely drawn into it. Her knowledge, her playfulness, her energy is completely evident in her brand and then when I met her in her person. So I'm looking forward to you meeting her as well. Hi, Kelsey. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business.
Hi, LuAnn. Thank you so much for having me.
Kels, come on. You are like so awesome and we hardly know each other. You're just, we've been having a little moment here with my technology on my end, and you are just such a pro, just laughing through it and going through it. But after doing my research on you, I am not at all surprised at how just real and genuine and totally cool you are with this chaos that's been the last 15 minutes of our lives.
Thank you. Well, we know tech issues happen, and goodness gracious, in this world of tech ruling our life, we have to roll with it and laugh with it and go with it.
I know. Well, I appreciate it. So here's the thing. I want to get to your book, The Connection Method, and your philosophy on, branding and personal branding and how we have to connect with it in order to really, I'm going to assume you're going to tell me to connect with our ideal clients, right? But I'm going to tell you a tiny little story.
Okay.
So a few months ago, I want to say 6 or 7 months ago, what I think I was doing was I was searching on Instagram for photographers because I've used the same photographer for 6 years, and she is now traveling the globe, taking care of her inner child, and just literally, I'm in Greece, I'm in Tasmania, I'm here, right? And I'm like, thanks, Irina, for leaving me. And so I was just, doing like keyword searches on Instagram and stuff. And I came across you, and then I went to your website, and then I could not leave your website. I was all the way in, reading every word, totally drew me in. And what was interesting was in that same week, I had a live interview with someone who they were talking about, you have to really be you on your website, because when the client ultimately meets you at their front door, if it doesn't line up, I mean, this is business 101. If it doesn't line up, it's like, wait, I thought I hired that lady. And I, at that moment, could not remember your name because I just found you randomly. And I remember saying, I just had this exact experience with reaching out. And the thing about it is for me, when I was looking for a photographer, what stuck out and struck me about you was the vibrancy of you, the way that you come through with your energy, with your playfulness. It's still very evident. It's completely evident that you're knowledgeable, that you know what you're doing. But when I think about having a photographer take my pictures. We don't need two of us curmudgeons in the same room. Like, we need one of them to be like, LuAnn, let's find the crazy lady. Let's get some good shots here.
Yeah, no, we can't have a curmudgeon behind the camera because that will be quite a boring.
Well, I just know, like, just like we say, the whole point is so that your ideal client can find you. For me, that is like, I literally was like saying to myself, oh, that will be fun. She will push me out of my box. She will make, because I'm a person that when I'm live in live situations and speaking engagements, I have there's no filter. I'm just like, here I am.
Oh,
but
yeah.
when you are like just you and a photographer taking pictures, it's sort of like, where's that energy? You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
Where's that
Yeah,
crazy
having your
LuAnn?
photograph taken is a very vulnerable experience. And, it's like you forget how your body moves.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what are these hands? What am I supposed to do? Like, your whole body just like freezes when the camera raises, and just like fear and just discoordination or uncoordination just comes out. So, but no, I appreciate you saying that about my website, because that's exactly how I want to show up. And that's exactly how I teach my clients, and through my book, The Connection Method, how to show up is that the greatest fear people have is the fear of the unknown, the fear of the unknown of, who you are behind the curtain. And we meet that heavily in business because you're afraid to reach out because you're not sure if your project is good enough, or you're special enough, or if they're going to be just salesy and not actually care for you or listen to you. Like, we have all of these insecurities and fears in our brain, all rooted back to the fear of the unknown. And so that's what I teach my clients to do, is to define what I've created, a connection-based brand that first connects with yourself, so you know who you are, what you value, what people can expect from you, and then illustrate it with branding photography, your branding visuals, so that people know what to expect. If you want to work with someone with a big, vibrant energy, then I would be a great person for you. But I'm going to tell you a secret, that not everybody vibes with my energy. And I'm okay with that. People are looking for, more quiet and reserved brands. People are looking for the loud or, just like spicy brands. And so you have to define who you are. But if you don't know who you are, it's going to be really hard for people to connect with you. So it's really interesting too, I'll add, with my website. Originally, so if you go on my website, my branding colors are turquoise, yellow, hot pink, and white, like very bright. And originally, though, when I started into lifestyle branding photography and branding education, my branding colors were black, gray, and white, with like a splash of steel blue, because they were comfortable. I'm also 6 feet tall. I'm a woman who's 6 feet tall and has always minimized her size. And so color never was comfortable for me. And so when I branded myself, my website looked like that. And then I went to an event, and this marketing lady was talking, and she was like, I went to this premiere event, and I talked to this woman who had the best energy. I just could not get enough of it. I got her card, could not wait to go to her website. And she went to her website, and it did not match the energy. She's like, it looked like a snoozy doctor's website. She's like, wait, there's a disconnect. And so when she shared that story, I felt like she was speaking to my soul, because I was like, oh my gosh, I have to step out of black. What? And so the next day I researched branding colors. I tried on colors I never wore in my entire life. And it has been a game changer for my business. And Exhibit A, with your experience, illustrated what to expect with me and my brand. So that just makes me very happy, and also proof of concept.
Absolutely. And I have to say, is in every single thing as a consumer, would I want that same look, idea, feeling, energy? Not necessarily, right? If I were hiring, like you said, a doctor, I might want it to look a little more serious. Like when I was getting my hip replaced. We don't want a crazy lady here doing that.
Maybe hot pink might not be the best way to go to have your hip replaced.
Right? But And other people even approaching the photography that you do might prefer somebody with a more low key approach. But like it is what we say on the show all the time is people want to work with the people that they resonate with. And if your website isn't expressing that, or in your case, if you get lifestyle pictures taken and you have them on your website and you are a bigger than life person and all of your website pictures are there sitting with your, elbow on your chin on your fist, it's like really? Right? Like it does. I guess really what we're saying, we've said it many times over the course of dozens of interviews in all different disciplines, whether it's talking about Facebook or Instagram or pictures or website, it's just do you, because the people who want you will find you and the others won't. And then if you do somebody else and you show up, then I'm going to be pissed anyway. Like if I hired you all the way from the West Coast to come to New Jersey and you walked in and you were all serious and quiet, I'd be like, oh, whoa.
Wait a minute.
I hired a crazy lady.
There's a disconnect.
Where is she?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is that, we need to be led as consumers. We need to be led. We need to be given the information so we can make the decisions, and we need to stay consistent in that. And, when I work with clients who've not had at least a headshot updated in 10 years, it's like, do you realize what a disservice that is to your community? Because you're basically showing up as a lie. If you show up and you don't look like how you show up online, then it's creating distrust instantly. And another thing is, I started off with, photography, lifestyle branding photography, and it morphed into branding education and writing my book, The Connection Method, because I found out that people realized they didn't know actually what a brand was or how to even show up. Because whenever I ask people, okay, tell me about your brand, 99% of the time I get one or two responses. The first response is, oh, my brand? Oh, let me show you my cute logo and colors. Oh, look at how shiny they are. Did you see that font? Oh, it's so special. Now, logo, fonts, and colors are a part of your brand, but they're not the true foundation of what your brand is rooted or anchored in. And then the second response I get when people ask about, or when I ask about a brand, they go, oh, my brand? Oh my gosh, I know I need to post more on social media. I need to show up more on Instagram. Like, I know. But social media is not branding. Social media is marketing. Branding is your message. Marketing is how that message is delivered. So they're two separate things, but they work together.
I love it. That's so clear. Branding is your message. Marketing is how it's delivered.
Exactly. And the thing is that you need to know what your brand foundation is, so that way you can move forward with intention and know why you choose that logo, why your colors are that way, why you're showing up on social media this way, why your website looks like that. It's all rooted in your brand foundation of who you are, what you value, and most importantly, what people can expect from you. And that will funnel your decisions and make things so much simpler. You don't have to feel like you're overthinking or being overwhelmed by options. It simplifies it and gives you a map of clarity for decisions and staying consistent.
Right. And it also, when you do all this work, when you do put in the time and effort to figure out who you are, what you value, what people can expect from you, and where you live in your own skin, right? Like what feels great for you. When you do that, then what happens is when you work with people, you start to hear, you're just exactly how I imagine you would be. You see, and that's the home run. I just started the new year of Chairman of the Board program. Oh, as a matter of fact, I think it was our mutual friend, Stacy from White Label Designs. She said to me at the end of the day, she's like, you're exactly who you come off as. And I'm like, yep, because I'm too old to come off as anybody else. It's me.
Oh, man. Oh, yes. And here's the thing, too, is that when you are intentional about how you show up on social, not just your swatches and your before and afters, but you, the human, because people buy you first and your product product second.
Right.
People need to remember that people buy you first and your product second. So how you're showing up really will build that trust and loyalty. So when you show up for the client consultation, they know what to accept and they're ready to sign on the dotted line. So it's truly a value to not only grow your business, but grow your business on trust and loyalty by just showing up. And I will say, shout out to Stacy Becker from White Label Interiors here in Seattle. She told me recently, she gave me permission to share this. She said that from the things she's implemented with lifestyle branding photography and defining and sharing a connection-based brand that I helped her create, it's tripled her business in 1 year.
I am not at all surprised by that, because what's interesting for me in getting ready for my first session with Stacy and really reading her website and going through it, I came to that very first meeting that morning feeling like I knew her, what she stood for, what her team did, what type of clients are her ideal clients, what kind of projects. You guys did an outstanding job. Her, and I'm sure, being vulnerable and doing the deep work to share with you, and you helping her express it, because her whole brand is, we have fun, we work hard, we have fun, but we value outdoor activities. We value, our the lifestyle, right? And they want to work with clients that value that lifestyle too. And it was funny. We had a little love fest moment where, like, you're just like you said you look like too, and you just like what you think, So
yes.
It's pretty cool. So tell me, Kelsey, I'm sure it comes through in your book, but what is it? What are the steps that you will generally work through, or that your book takes us through? Give us some of the highlight view of how you encourage or teach people to do this for themselves.
Absolutely. So the biggest thing that I tell people about defining not just a brand, but a connection-based brand with the connection method is that you have to be ready for a shift in perspective, because we've been taught a traditional way to think about branding and marketing, like hiding behind our logos, hiding behind everything has to be perfect and unapproachable, and so connection-based branding shifts your perspective 180 degrees from traditional branding. So that's the first thing. And what I do is I lead people through an actionable step-by-step process that by the end of the book, or by the end of working with me one-on-one, they actually have a map of clarity of who they are, what they value, and what others can expect. So the first thing we define are your branding words. Your branding words are the most important piece of your brand. They form that foundation that you run everything through. And those are 3 to 5 words that who you are, what you value, what people can expect. And for example, my branding words are real, education, inspiration, empower, and joy. So every single decision I make, from the types of clients I take on to how I design my website to what I wear in the day, all run through the filter of my branding words. So I create consistency with how I show up, so my community knows what to expect from me. And I always say consistency breeds confidence. So if you're searching for confidence in yourself, you need to start being consistent. If you want your community to start being confident in you, you need to start showing up in a consistent way. What can they expect? So that's the first thing that I help people define, are your branding words. And the second piece is, this is when a lot of people have a big aha, holy cow, this is a new perspective moment, is I help people define an ideal community, not just an ideal client. So an ideal community is composed of 4 different groups. Yes, you have your ideal client, because mama got to make that money. Okay. So yes, you've got your ideal client, but then you also have your ideal team. You have your ideal leadership. Who do you actually want to help support and uplift your business and challenge you to that next level through mentorship, podcasts, books, or what have you, as well as your ideal support crew, making sure that the people in your life, your friends and family, are aligned with how you want to show up and supporting you in what you need. So it's your ideal client, ideal team, ideal leadership, and ideal support crew, because I feel like we put so much energy on defining our, ideal client avatar, when we have to look up and realize that there are a lot more elements in our life and business that are contributing to building our business. And so what I do is I help people define an attract and repel list in the connection method. I recommend people start with defining the characteristics of the type of people they want to work with first, and then the demographic. So characteristics like they respect your time, they trust you, they're appreciative, or they, want to join creative forces with you, or they just want hands off, let you do the thing. Whatever it is that energizes you, whatever those characteristics of a fellow human being are that energize you, those need to be in your attract list. But then you have to look at the other side of the coin and look at the things and characteristics that deplete you, and how you feel when you get a call from a client and you just don't want to answer it because you just know that you're going to feel horrible afterwards or depleted of energy. We have to know both sides of the coin of what we want to attract as well as repel from our circle, so that when we come in contact with someone who might be difficult, we have a tangible way to evaluate if they're a good fit for us or not, as well as, oh, you know what? I love working with you. I wish I had 100 more, so that you know how to structure your consult calls, how you show up, how you put yourself on your website, what people can expect to attract that type of clientele. So with Ideal Community, that's a huge mental shift and perspective shift that people have to have, of looking at a bigger picture and looking at the characteristics first, and then going into demographic specifics, income, things like that.
I love it. It's funny because I always say when we talk about the hard conversation, which is, one of my things, that helping people navigate hard conversations and negotiation, right?
Yes.
And I always say you have to start with what you will and what you will not do. What you will and what you will not do. Because if you don't have that identified first, how can we start to go and have a negotiation? Or how can we start to navigate a hard conversation? Because if you don't have that clarity before you start that conversation, when the conversation gets a little scary and it's sliding around on ice, you're now trying to be in the moment and also make a decision on what you will do or what you won't do, right? And what I just heard in there is, when you have your list of the characteristic list of the people you want to attract and the people you want to repel, now when you're having a conversation, maybe it's that initial discovery call with a potential client, you can be, if you're really clear on your attract and repel list the way you're suggesting, you're going to mentally in the moment be like, oh, check mark for attract, check mark, oh, check mark for repel, check mark for
100%,
repel. 100%. Right?
100%.
Yes, I can see it being the case, right? Because that's how I am when I'm negotiating. I'm like, nope, that's not going to fly for me. Let's stop right here. Or, oh, I can live with that. That's okay. That's in my I will do that list. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And here's the thing is, I encourage people to build those lists. And sometimes they're pretty hardy, long lists. And I tell people to pull 3 non-negotiables from those lists. Yeah. And my 3 non-negotiables are, they have to have good energy, positivity, because I feel energy. And if you're not, ready to listen and excited about the process, sure, it's scary, but if you don't have that energy, like, I will feel that and it will affect the work. Also respect my time, and also because we know that's important. And then also, who are already doing the work. In my industry of lifestyle branding photography, as well as branding education, I like people who are actually trying and not just waiting. Oh, once I work with Kelsey, then I'll start putting myself out there. Then this will happen. I like working with people who are just even trying to make an effort. If it's not perfect, totally fine. But at least you're getting into the habit, so that when we do put together your connection-based brand, when we do have your really intentional photo shoot, then you can hit the ground running and you're set up for success. And that was actually a new non-negotiable that came to me in 2021 that I was exploring with clients, and that was a game changer. And so it's finding those non-negotiables. So when you are on a client meeting or client call, you can be like, oh yeah, yes, or this hit me weird. Right. We might need to explore that or discuss that more. And you have a tangible, characteristic or red flag or green flag that you want to expand on more, versus just relying on emotion.
Well, that's what it does. It takes it away from complete emotion and complete relying on your gut, which I'm a big one for relying on the gut and for tapping into your intuition, no question. But there are so much that happens in any particular conversation, whether it's with a potential client or a potential trade or a builder or whatever, that you need to be in real time mentally doing the gymnastics of taking in all this information and processing it while you're talking. And we always say, you've got to say no to the client that doesn't feel like a right fit. And one of the one of the most common things that I hear designers come up and ask me is, but how do I really know? Sometimes I just have a bad feeling about somebody, and maybe, one time I ignored it and it worked out fine. Maybe they were having a bad day. But this gives it a little bit more concrete. It's the characteristics are there or not there, and yada yada. So I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so this is work. Like, if in your book, we could be led through this work, obviously. So we could
absolutely, yeah. And we go through many other processes, including defining your niche. And I actually define your niche as not necessarily what you specialize in, but what you actually sell. And this is another, shift of perspective of, I sell lifestyle branding photography, I sell branding education, speaking, books, things like that. But what I actually sell, what my actual niche is confidence. And you'll see that all over my website, all over my social media, is I help people stand confident in who they are with their connection-based brand. I help people stand confident in front of the camera with posing direction and making them feel taken care of. It's all about confidence. That's what I sell. And so that's another piece of the connection method that I help people work through, of like, what do you actually sell? And then the favorite chapter that everybody loves is called The Gap. And we talk about something called the Sasquatch factor. And I live in Seattle, and so Sasquatch is a big thing here. But like I said, I'm 6 feet tall. I've always been the biggest girl in any group growing up. And I've always had a big personality and big dreams and imagination and all these things. And so I always felt like an outcast or like a mythical creature, like the elusive Sasquatch. And I also wear a size 12 shoe. Whoa. So I'm literally a Bigfoot.
Wow. That's crazy, right? I just thinking of you growing up and really processing all that as a child. That's got to be a lot.
Yeah, and so what I learned is that the things that make us different, our Sasquatch factors, are the things that are most powerful in developing and curating connection with your community or clients. And so I help people define their Sasquatch factor, like what makes them different, but then also with the whole gap mentality of looking at their entire industry and realizing that there literally is a place for them. Yes, your industry might feel saturated, but it's not saturated with you, and really validating them and letting them know that their voice is needed and helping them explore what actually makes them different so that they can show up and be proud and serve their community. Because what's on the other side of your industry is a community literally waiting for you to show up, waiting for you to share your story and your skills, waiting for you to make them feel seen, feel heard, and feel like they matter.
So true.
And that's what the gap is all about.
So true. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so funny because I had this one saying on my vision board, and I said it on the podcast in the first year I was podcasting, and I'm not where my vision board is now, but it's something to the effect of the things that made you different as a kid are the things that will set you apart or your superpower later.
Yes.
And Marina Umali, who is one of the past podcast guests on the show and is a New Jersey interior designer, she had that like calligraphy on a thing and framed it and brought it to me one time. And it's true, because I was always the one that didn't shut up. I always asked 1,000 questions. My father used to say, Jesus H. Roosevelt, you know what, LuAnn? Do you ever stop talking?
So we're soul sisters.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Every teacher,
I got in trouble for
every other
singing in class.
Parent, aunt, uncle, like she's still talking over there. Yes, she is.
LuAnn, did we just become best friends? I think we did.
So I love it, right?
And yeah, it truly is the thing that makes you different. And then you can take all those things that you define and then create this map of clarity of who you are, and then define your branding colors and branding, visuals. And, one thing we talk about in the connection method, as well as something I'm very known for on my Instagram, are branding colors. And I have a series called If Branding Colors Were a Person. And I use all of my my creativity that I've had as a child, and I take on the persona of each individual color, because as you know, colors have meaning. So there are wigs involved. There are props involved. We are heading towards filming season 3 soon. But that's because then you can go through the meanings of each color and look at your branding words and look at how you define your brand and know, oh, I am such a navy blue, white, and gray. Like, that's totally me. Or, yeah, like, I align with the hot pink, which is rebel, assertive, leader.
So cool. And this is on your Instagram? It's like we could go, is it one of the little, like, reels or TV things or something on Instagram?
Yes. So you can go to my Instagram. They're reels. They're also uploaded to my YouTube channel as well. And so if you just type in Kelsey Kurtis with a K, or If Branding Colors Were a Person, you will see a lot of things. And there's one that even includes a live bunny rabbit.
Of course it does.
I will do anything to teach branding. You don't even realize.
Oh my goodness, so funny. I love it. And it's funny because when you started to say, how do you pick your colors? I'm thinking, how do you pick your colors? But then there's your exercise to picking your colors, right?
Yep, exactly. And then, season 3 will have a few new colors. And then we're also going to be diving into patterns as well. So what does floral mean? What does cheetah print mean? What does chevron or buffalo check mean? Because a lot of people come to me going like, I get the colors, but actually identify more with patterns. What do those mean? And so that's going to be a whole other exploration.
Well, that's awesome. I think it's great. And I do because here comes the questioner in me. Is it like, okay, so color I could see easier because, there's a whole thing like blue is calm and red is hot and energy and yellow is blah, 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 right? So, but when you get to patterns, is it become subjective for you, or is there objective things? So like when you think floral, like my brain goes to feminine and blah, blah, blah. But like, is that, I just asking the technical side of it.
Yeah. The thing is that there is a whole world that psychologists have studied these things. And so I pull from those types of, that research to put together the definitions. I'm not, really creating them. They're just kind of known. Yeah. I'm not doing a PhD on branding colors, although people think that I have that. They're like, what does this mean? I'm like, I don't know. Let me go look at my reel. I need to, what was it? So my reels are the color encyclopedia. But so I look at the meanings of them. And then the thing is that we have to remember that we show up in different ways with different words and meanings. So you can truly translate your word and color into how you show up. So for example, one of the biggest branding words that I suggest clients, like some clients have, if it makes sense for them, that I get pushback for sometimes, is leader. And I have to remind people that you define how people see you. Maybe I'm giving you the word leader, and that doesn't mean you have to stand at a podium in a black suit and a white button down and proclaim to the masses. But leader could actually be in a very intimate interpersonal relationship, like in a designer sense. You're potentially leading, your client and then your crew and things, but like look at leader in a new perspective. How do you think these words show up? How do you show up in these words? And then you can do the same thing with color, of looking at those meanings and implementing them with how you show up. Everything truly is subjective, and everything can and should be individualized because we can't fit into a box. Branding yourself and finding your branding colors are just ways to help you organize the chaos that's going on in your brain and help you organize how to communicate who you are to your community. So take it with what the definitions are, but then if you feel like you connect with something in a different way, then roll with it. I'm not wanting to stop you.
Right. And it's to every single thing that you teach, it is to then find what in it is real for you or resonates for you, not necessarily the definition that's out there. And it's funny because just this morning we had a meeting at Exciting Windows is another company that myself and my husband own, and we support and teach window treatment professionals how to run profitable businesses. And we have a Zoom meeting every single Thursday where it's like basically group coaching, mentoring, and, brainstorming and help each other's businesses get better. And today's meeting was where we invite all the salespeople of all of our Exciting Windows owners to come to the meeting. And, to your point of leader, somebody asked a question. She said, one thing I struggle with is, sometimes the sales appointment goes too long and I'm like supposed to be at my next appointment. I've been there 2 hours and I'm still there. And I feel like the woman, is wanting to still play decorator with me and me to show.
Oh, yeah.
And the exact sentence I said, you all have to remember in that role, you are the leader in that room.
Yes.
It is that person's home, right?
Exactly.
I said it is that person's home. And so we're respectful and deferential in that regard. But you are the leader. They hired you because they expected you to take them through a professional process. And so find that leader in you and make sure you strap her on when you ring that doorbell. Right? And so it's the same with interior designers, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Like you can be a leader, yes, if that's what you want in a global setting or a huge setting. But honestly, the most impactful leaders are those who lead your clients through the process and express those boundaries and know what you will and won't do, And so, yes, that's a perfect example. I will tell you and your listeners, I do have 2 branding words that I highly recommend people do not use. And that is professional and authentic. And it's like, oh my gosh, wait, those were the words I was thinking. So the reason I say that is because professional is so subjective. Like you don't actually know what that means. And authentic, I feel like is such a trendy word that you don't get to the root of like how you're authentic. So what I tell people is that if you're landing on these words, or you can use it with any other word to dig deeper, ask yourself, how you're professional, how you're authentic, what makes you an authentic person, what makes you a professional. That way you can go from the surface level and dig deeper into finding actual descriptors of how you show up in these ways, versus just putting a one size fits all word onto it and going on your merry way, which is not serving anyone.
No. You know what it reminds me of?
So,
I don't know why I got this silly analogy in my head when you described that. It's like saying I'm pasta. Right? So, are you spaghetti pasta? Are you linguine pasta?
Gosh, yes.
Are you fusilli pasta?
Yes. Are you cooked pasta? Uncooked pasta? What is it?
Right,
yes.
Right? Like it's like
that
that,
is absolutely
right?
spot
Professional.
on.
And I love that that's such a great way to get to the next layer. Well, how am I professional? What way am I showing up as a professional? And then you start to get to those deeper meanings of what you actually are embodying, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And when I share that question with people one-on-one, or they read it in the book, or when I'm speaking and doing workshops, that's when the light bulb comes on and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually connecting with myself for the first time in such a long time, because I'm going beyond just the survival, surface level stuff, but actually reconnecting with myself. And that's only going to serve you and your community so much better, because you can be more intentional with that. And so, but yeah, that is an absolute perfect analogy. I might have to steal that. I always tell people, they come to me with, I'm just all over the place and I just feel like I've been throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks for marketing or what have you. So it ties into that analogy.
Very intellectual analogy.
We are very smart and professional humans. No.
Love it.
Pasta.
You're pasta.
You're pasta. I love
Very
it.
good. Okay, so then the next thing that happens is once we've done this deep work and we've read your book and we feel like we're pretty cool and we have an understanding of who we are and how we want to show up and what the community is that we want to attract around us and our brand, then you take it a step further and you are actually available for these photo shoots. And I noticed that you do travel from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Yes, I do. I know. I'm going to be traveling to Rome again and Italy this summer for another photo shoot. So like camera gear actually travels quite well. So, So what I tell people is that I call it a branding and marketing cycle.
Mm.
So there's 3 steps to it. Most of the time, people start at step 3, where they just throw spaghetti at the wall for marketing, see what sticks, and of course they end up feeling overwhelmed and then never post anything or just get in their head. So what I tell people is you need to start with step 1, which is to define your brand. Like, we have to actually know who you are so that we know how to market you, right? And so define your brand. And then step 2 is imagery and illustrate that brand. Now, keep in mind, of course, I'm a big supporter of taking professional lifestyle branding photography, photo sessions for your brand, but you also have a phone. And that takes great photos for social media, for Instagram stories, for whatever. I know Stacey Becker with White Label, she has done a great job of like doing floor shots with her shoes. She's become known for that with like her shoes and how she shows up to show floors with her cell phone. So yes, you need professional photos. Yes, you need to have custom imagery that illustrates your message. No more stock photos. No more just a plain headshot shot in 1982. No more. We're done with that. Stop sign. You are not allowed to pass go. And so that's what I help people create, is actual custom lifestyle branding imagery. And keep in mind, lifestyle branding goes beyond the headshot. It illustrates the heart of your business and your brand. So my biggest question is, what makes sense to you? You know, does it make sense that you work at a coffee shop, or do you actually work at home or in your studio, or are you on site, or like, what does it look like for you to show up in what you do? And that's what we illustrate. So I've been on construction sites with, you know, no roof. I've been in the most random places to illustrate people's brands, that's based on their lifestyle, their brand, that's custom to them. And then the third step is release that message out into the world with marketing. So your website, email campaign, your social media, you know, whatever you want to do. You can even integrate lifestyle branding photos and your brand into your client presentations. So it all starts though with defining your brand, creating custom imagery, and then releasing it out into the world. And then when you're ready to promote something again, share yourself again, you go back through the cycle. Step 1, 2, 3. And that's how we create consistency and how we show up in a true, intentional way.
I love the clarity of it. That's you know, it's like you said, anything that's step 1, step 2, step 3. It's like, okay, let me lock this down, move on to the next one, right? And I also love that you challenge us to think about where and how we do what we do. So instead of the shot that you see everybody else, you know, standing with their back sideways, you know, to the bookcase or something. I don't know. Right. But if you really have a bookcase in your studio and that's where you get all your inspiration from the books on it, great.
Yeah.
But if you don't, I don't want to.
It doesn't make sense to do that. That's the number one question I ask all the time is, does that make sense for you? I remember one of my clients, at her first photo shoot, she said, okay, I have a whole bunch of dresses in my cart at Nordstrom. Okay, I'm ready to check out, but just can you check my cart really quick? And I was like, girlfriend, I don't think I've ever seen you in a dress. And she's like, no, I'm just getting dresses for the photo shoot. I said, does that make sense? When you go up to a client at a meeting, do you wear a dress? And she's like, no, I wear jeans and a pink blazer. I'm like, okay, then we're going to photograph you in jeans and a pink blazer. Like, no, you're not going to put you in a dress. Right. That doesn't make sense. Just for photos, this is not your 8th grade school photo. Like, we're going deeper.
Right. You know, and the thing is, we all need that. That's why I have to go back to when I was so impressed by your website, because that came through to me, that you are not going to just show up to take pictures. You see?
No.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, I always have either Kim from WindowWorks, or Christy, my daughter, or Diana, who works with me here, one of these ladies, when we do a photo shoot for me, whether it's for the book covers or it's for social or whatever like that, whenever I spend money for a photographer, because if no matter how good or bad the photographer is, if the photographer puts me in a thing, they'll be like, what is she doing like that? Like, no, you know what I mean? Or the other thing too is I got the sense from you and your website that if you are talking with me and we're laughing and I'm smiling and I'm being me, and then you go to take my pictures and every smile is like, who's that smile? You would point it out, but you would be
Oh,
right.
totally.
But there are a lot of photographers that take the pictures of the stupid smile. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. The thing is that I always aim for those micro moments that you don't think I'm taking a photo. And that's what I'm known for, is people are like, this is the first photo I've ever felt like me in a photo ever in my life. That's the number one feedback I get. It's just like, oh my gosh, that's actually me, not just,
Yes.
the hand on chin senior photo. And it's because, I have vast experience with posing and directing. I tell people I'm your Steven Spielberg of your photo shoot. Like, let me lead you. I know what looks good. It might feel awkward, but it means it looks good when we're feeling awkward and falling into that and
getting out of your
I'm
comfort
very
zone.
directive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not easy to be on the other side of that. It really
Not
isn't.
at all.
And you really have to trust.
No.
And that's why I always bring one of these ladies with me, because, you have to have somebody that you really trust and any one of them will cut my knees right off. Like, that's ridiculous. What are you doing? And I'll be like, I don't know. The photographer said to do it. They're like, no.
No. And that's what I always come back to, is like, what makes sense? And I show people back at the camera to be like, does this make sense for you? And then most of the time it'll be a yes or maybe not. And the thing is that you said, you don't just show up and take a photo. I don't. Like, we actually have a questionnaire you fill out. We do a pre-production meeting. We get inspiration boards. My assistant helps create those just so we can really be completely intentional and leverage our time and energy on this, so that you can create images that you can use today, 6 months, or even a year or 2 years from now, that are timeless and classic, that are intentional and really have a purpose behind them, and that show your brand, that show your personality and how you show up. And so that's what's really important to find in a photographer, is someone who gets the bigger picture. This is not family photography. This is not, beauty photography. This is a marketing tool that we're creating. So we have to make sure that it aligns with your brand, and your brand is you. So it has to align with you. So there's so many working pieces that I have streamlined in my process to help people create that for their shoots.
I won't go so far as to say that this investment in this lifestyle brand photography is more important than the investment in interior photography. But I will go so far as to say as important, because like you mentioned it, and I've written on it a dozen times in Window Fashion Vision magazine and all the places, that people do not buy product, they buy you. They buy you.
Amen.
Right? They buy,
yes. Right? The church says amen, LuAnn. Yes.
Right. They buy you. They buy your process. Right? Because when you go to hire an interior designer and you go to interview different interior designers, you don't even make the inquiry to that interior designer if you haven't already decided that their work looks like something you like, that you admire. You're not picking them out of a hat and saying, oh, I wonder after I talk with her if I'll like the pictures of her work. So it's expected when a consumer comes to you, that a consumer expects that you are going to do design that they like. Now, you might say something that makes them think, oh, I overestimated. I don't think this person is capable. But I'm telling you, they're coming to the conversation with a given that they're going to like your design. The rest that they're figuring it out is, do they like your process? Are you organized? Are you going to run a tight ship? Is the project going to go smoothly, or am I going to have to babysit? Or is the designer going to be the leader in this or not? And they're looking to see, where I said, when I'm looking for a photographer, I'm looking for someone who is not going to be what I call in sales an order taker, that is going to lead the thing, right?
Yes.
And so I love, to me, and the listeners that are longtime listeners, they know that one of my pet peeves is when I go to the About You page of an interior designer. And if I can substitute any person's name on that About You page, I lose my mind. I'm just like, this is right.
I agree completely. Oh my gosh. Your About page is your most visited page of your entire website. And if there's no picture of you or nothing that tells me how you're different, I am out of there in a heartbeat. And that same principle applies to your social media too. That's the thing, is that people need to see, they need to see your work, but they also need to see you. And I tell people that first off, when I tell people you need to show your face, your team needs to show up, like who are the people behind your business? A lot of kickback I get is, well, isn't that narcissistic or self-centered to put myself out there? And I tell them, first off, if you put yourself out there to serve your community and connect with your community, that is a selfless act, not selfish, because you're telling them, I am here to connect. I am here for you to feel seen, feel heard, like you're going to be taken care of. And I'm ready to connect and build a relationship with you. If you don't show up, all you're saying is, you're just a transaction. Look at all the things that I sell. Buy this, we're done. Which I'm sure your longtime listeners are not like that. They want to build those relationships. And I tell people that you need to have a balanced social media, balanced marketing by implementing the 3 value elements. And I teach this in the connection method, is that once you're ready to launch your brand out into the world, share it on the marketing. You can't just be business, business, business. If I take a cross section of your Instagram or your socials and it's just interiors, that can literally be any interior designer. Right. I don't know who you are. And so what I tell people is they need to pull from the 3 value elements. The first value element is education. You need to share your education and share your knowledge. Let people think in a different way. That's going to build trust and connection. The second value element is emotional. And that means sharing your personality, sharing motivational, sharing a blooper, sharing something deep. It doesn't matter. Just create some emotional connection. Share that human connection. And then the third is business value, because you need to show your work. You need to have a place. And I tell people they need to show up in the third role. A third of the time post-educational, a third of the time post-emotional, a third of the time post-business. So when you're sitting down to post, create an email campaign, even write something for your website, think about those 3 things and see, oh, you know what? I've posted 7 interior photos, my last post. Maybe I should post something about me and a picture of me that people can remember who they're connecting with to these interiors. And so I cover all of that in the connection method. And I truly consider it an evergreen marketing strategy, because it will be applicable today on the social platforms and websites we have today, as well as what's going to happen in the next 10 years. It's just about bringing balanced value to your community.
I love it. It's so spot on. I mean, anytime a designer interacts with us on the Instagram, and I'm looking at the Instagram and I see a name that I don't recognize, and maybe they made a comment or a new follow, first thing I do is I hit their profile, I go right to it. And after I read the profile, I'm also looking for, is your name in the profile?
Yes. Oh, gosh.
You know, interior design, wherever, but it doesn't say, hi, I'm Bill, or hi, I'm Sally. Like, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
But then I will go to the feed and I'll scroll the feed to see until I see their face. And sometimes, like you said, you can go, 10, 12 grids of 9 and not see a face. And, and to your point, what's so interesting is, I never really said this part before, like, this is boring. I never said, oh, this is boring because their face or their team or whatever is not there. But it is boring. It's, again, you're an interior designer. I expect there to be beautiful pictures of interiors. It's a given. I'm going to a bowling alley. There's bowling lanes there. Okay, that's what happens when you go there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But is there music, and are there lights, and is this going to be fun, and is there beer?
Is it the glow-in-the-dark blacklight party? We want to know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And honestly, statistics have shown that posts with faces perform at least 30% better than those that don't. And so right there is... you need to know. And also, I also found another statistic that 94% of people will buy into a brand that emotionally connects with them. 94%. 94%. Whoa. So you're leaving business on the table. And I've seen this in the real estate industry, where people just think that if they have their duplicated real estate profile with maybe one photo, and then they just post all of their listings, like that will be enough, and they don't want to grow and change. great, you do that, but you're leaving so much business on these upcoming generations on the table who connection is so important, especially with 2020. Like, we are searching for connection. We want to know the values behind the businesses we're buying into. We want to know the energies. We want to know the processes. We want to know beyond just like, will you make my house pretty? And so it's so vital to show up. But again, the biggest thing people run into is just like, okay, well, how do I show
It's
up?
hard.
And people don't know who they are. They don't have their branding words. They don't have their map of clarity. And that's what I found out. And that's why I wrote the connection method, because I'm like, oh, well, here you go. Here's your map. Go for it.
No, it's so true. No one, we're making a lot of, flip comments and funny things and all the, but it's not easy. It's not easy to get clear on this stuff. And it's so awesome that, you literally wrote the book on it for us.
LuAnn, I have to tell you, that's my favorite thing to say, of just like, oh, well, I did write the book on it. Like, in a cheeky way, of course. But it like, sometimes I'll second guess myself and then be like, wait a minute, I did write the book. Okay. But no, it truly is. It is hard because we are human beings. We do have insecurities. We do have the imposter syndrome and the comparison monster knocking on our door every single day. But if you don't have the shield of who you are to combat yourself, then you're just going to fall to that and not step forward into growth. And so that's really what I kept running into with entrepreneurs, of just not knowing who they were. They want the desire to connect and build relationships and build impact. And the whole purpose of the connection method is to bring humanity back to business. And they had a desire for that, but they didn't have the path to do that in a simplistic step-by-step way. And it just, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got to put out my knowledge and what I've experienced. And, everything that I've learned really stems from my grandfather. We started my first business when I was 11 years old because he saw the entrepreneur spirit in me. And he was a master entrepreneur. He owned a florist business in downtown LA in the glory days of Hollywood in the 40s and 50s, and supplied the florals to everybody. And then in the 80s and 90s, he started a sailboat brokerage business with his brothers in Newport Beach, California. And he had a special way of doing business. And so when we started my first business, which was creatively named Kelsey's Jewelry, where we imported silver jewelry from Mexico and then we wholesaled it to boutiques in town. He told me when we went out to go, quote unquote, sell the jewelry, he said, we're leaving the jewelry in the car, Kelsey. And we would go into the boutiques, and he taught me how to relate to people, ask them about themselves, the questions to ask and the jokes to say. And then we would always leave with no mention of the jewelry. We would go back time and time again, no mention of the jewelry, and we built relationships. And then when the time came to sell our jewelry, every single flat of jewelry was sold out, because that's what he taught me. That's the entrepreneur business builder he taught me, was that it's about relationships, their story, our story. That's how business is built. And so I took that with me when I started my photography business, and then took that with me into building the connection method and sharing it and speaking about it. Everything Grandpa Paul taught me is the foundation of everything I teach others to do.
I love it. Wow. What an amazing story. It's so fun to just picture you and your grandpa. Here you are, 11. We're in the jewelry business.
Yes. Yep. Well, I mean, he saw, every single day I played a different business. One day it would be a Blockbuster video. I would take out all of our videos. It would be a McDonald's. It would be a toy store, a clothing store. Our house was a disaster because it was a new business every day. So I was very, very fortunate to have that mentorship and that perspective ingrained into my heart from a very early age.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. That's like all of our friends listening are like, I moved all the furniture around from the time I was a little kid.
Yes. Like our calling calls to us way before we even realize it.
Yes. So cool. I just love it. Such, amazing energy, amazing insights, all the things. And so we can get the book on Amazon, The Connection Method, and then give us your website, because they have to see your beautiful website and see what I saw. And probably only the crazies will also relate to it, but that's okay.
That's okay. Those are my people. Those are my track listers. That's totally fine. So, yes, so you can can go on Amazon, get the connection method there. My website is kelseykurtis.com, Kurtis, Kelsey Kurtis with K. And then my second home, I hope that you join me there, which is Instagram. I really try to bring joy, inspiration, and entertainment to you on a daily basis with Instagram stories and my reels and my posts. That's really a great place. I just got bangs for the first time, so that's all chronicalized. That's all shown on there, and so we've been having fun going through that journey on, because I truly create a community. The people who buy into wanting to build a connection-based brand, I call them my connection crew, and they are all there on Instagram, and that's Kelsey M. Kurtis on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find me on YouTube as well. You can type my name in on Google and it'll pop up a whole bunch of things.
That is awesome. That is so good, Kelsey. I have loved getting to know you and talking to you today. I appreciate you so much showing up and sharing all this with us. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
I think many of us can still have some misconceptions when it comes to branding, right? And maybe this is the one place that we could fall short, where we lose sight of this connection aspect. Kelsey says we need to get ready and we need to shift perspective and get out of the habit of hiding behind logos and step into connection-based branding. So whether you learn some steps and strategies from her book, The Connection Method, or working with her one-on-one, I believe that the exercises that she shares with us and in her book are very helpful in getting us to this clarity, right? So if you're putting out content in social that's feeling a little robotic or repetitive, or worse, it doesn't feel indicative of who you really are, then pay attention, right? Kelsey challenged us to consider why we are doing what we're doing, or posting, or presenting. It's a great question, a great exercise to consider. You should be asking yourself, does this make sense for me to put it out there? Is this how I want to be represented? Is this how I will show up in real life when I do meet my prospective clients? And I love that Kelsey shared with us her branding words, right? Real, education, inspiration, empower, joy. Think about that list. Real, education, inspiration, empower, joy. Do they ring true after spending just 45 minutes with her? I think they do, right? And what I love is that when you take the time to establish your branding words, according to Kelsey, is now you're going to run every decision through the filter of your branding words. This helps give you consistency in how you show up, and how you show up when you do in this way that's so genuine to you, it gives you confidence. And when you show up with confidence, then your clients can move to trust much faster, right? The other thing of Kelsey was the aha moment, which, we always talk about considering our ideal client, but she told us to define our ideal community. I like that aspect, right? The ideal team, your ideal support group, your ideal leadership. And I love also the suggestion to sit down and make the list of the characteristics that you want to attract to this ideal community, right? And also the characteristics that deplete you, right? She calls it the attract and repel list. Love it. And I'll just say this ties along with, I've written many times. I've written it for the AD Pro. I've written it in Window Fashion Vision magazine. We've talked about it on the show. And it just bears and proves the point that people don't buy product. They buy you, okay? People don't buy product. They buy you. People expect you to do a good job as a designer. They're really interviewing and probing and trying to understand who you are as a person so that they know that they can feel comfortable, confident, and trust in you. Okay? I like that Kelsey gave a shout out to Stacy from White Label Interiors, whom she helped create her connection-based brand for Stacy. Okay? Stacy has implemented everything that Kelsey has taught her, including the lifestyle branding photography and defining her brand. And because of this, she has tripled her business in 1 year. Okay. I can totally vouch for this because when I met Stacy, I had the exact reaction that I had when I met Kelsey, is that exactly how she is online was how she was as a real life person. Okay. And it was fun for me to hear that Stacy said the same about me. That when, she met me, she was like, you're just like you seem in all the places. Right? And I have to say that credit goes to Nicole Heimer of Gloria Brand, as well as to Diana Simon, my marketing coordinator, and to Stephanie Hamilton of Hamilton Creatives. These are the ladies that help me come out to you as I really am. All right. And at the end of the day, we're talking about confidence. We're talking about the confidence to be who we are, right? And then to actually put it out there for the whole world to see. But when you do it, everything gets easier. It's funny. I recently was on the Design Hounds retreat in Clearwater, and I saw my friend Marina Umali. You remember her? She was on the show several years ago, and she is a designer here in New Jersey, and she's a feng shui specialist. And years ago, she heard me say on the show that I had found in a magazine this page, and it said, the things that make you different as a kid are the things that will set you apart as an adult. And she heard me say that, and she turned around and had it made into a piece of art for me. And I want you to think about that, because really what we're saying is be you, right? So when you were a kid, when I was a kid, I can't tell you how many people told me to stop talking. Like my dad used to say it almost every day, all day long. When are you going to stop talking? LuAnn. He used to put a little curse word in there, and then he'd say, when are you going to stop talking? And my own husband, oh my goodness, with the questions. Why can't you just trust me? Why do you have to ask me another question? So these are my things, right? I'm a great listener. I'm a great talker, and I'm a great questioner. Sometimes it irritates people, but sometimes it's the thing that really contributes to my success. Right? So what are your things? What are your branding words? What are the ways that are so true and good to you that you want to show up that way in all the ways? Okay? I have to say, if you want more conversation about branding, all right, because, this is the tip of an iceberg and it's a great start, but your brain might be clicking, right? We've done other shows on it, okay? We've had Nicole Heimer on, who specializes in branding. We've had Rachel Bozick on, who taught us a practical plan for positioning our brand, okay? And of course, we have Kay Whitaker, who way back in 2016 gave me my first aha moments about branding. Okay, so please go to the show notes. We will have the episode numbers in all of those show notes. You can just click on your phone and there's all the show notes, right? And also check out our show notes and our photos in Instagram for Kelsey's grandpa, Paul, who has provided the foundation to everything she teaches. All right. And there are also some great photos linked to Kelsey's branding color video personas as well. All right. Thank you, Kelsey. Tons and tons. It was so fun to get to know you. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I do appreciate that you do that every week with me. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.